Hi, I'm Chris from airwindows, and I have a plugin. It is not a new plugin quite. It's sort of a blast from the past. This is one of the ones that I got started with when I started airwindows doing audio unit plugins back in around 2007. Back before we even had 64-bit, I may or may not have been developing it on a PPC. Just so as you know, all of my plugins are still coded to run on PPC machines. I don't know anybody else who's able to do that. You can't really do that if you're compiling and building your stuff on modern computers because Apple won't let you. But I don't have to do what Apple wants all the time, so I've got my stuff building on an older machine. It supports modern stuff perfectly well, but it also still runs in PowerPC. And that means you can set up an airwindows mix station or recording setup on a really wide variety of computers. This is distance. Distance is like a kind of EQ, but maybe it's not completely like a kind of EQ because I'm doing a variety of things in it. It's one of those ones where there's a lot going on under the hood. And it makes it sound kind of like this. Now, before I do anything, notice that as soon as I turn it on, it still has an effect. That's important. You can't set it to 0 and have it just be total bypass, so don't try to do that. But here's what it does. Let's make this music go far away now. Farther. Farther, let's get some real thunder happening. This is set up to maximize just sheer distance in the sound. It works pretty good for reverbs and things like that. I'm not sure if I would use it as a crazy sub boost, even in an aux or something of that nature, because it's really getting busy trying to make stuff sound far away. You can hear that the low frequency thump is quite a bit more than it was, and you can plainly see what's going on in it. You can also see that there are some funny details here. Gotta love span. I love my span. You'll notice that there is a funny detail in here where it's just not continuing to drop off. That tells me that I'm using the interleaved sample technique that I've been using since 2007. As a result, there's a little bit of clarity and distinctness in there. You can make out some of what's going on, even when things are the most buried. And we can fit stuff like that in here, and again, it sounds fairly natural, but that's what it really sounds like. And I don't have to just stick to that. Here's some drums we can check out. Maybe not awesome drums, but it's a drum session. And the thunder quality here is very interesting. This works better on reverbs because what you're hearing is the same kind of quality that I'm trying to get out of it on direct input sounds, which means you're getting the thunder bass frequencies added. And maybe this would be good for some kind of aux or something. There's many ways to do everything. In fact, I'm going to make a little note saying that this is going to have a dry wet control so that you can use it for that very purpose. Never done, even while I'm recording the videos, I'm still working on the plugins. And then when we bring this in, that's actually kind of cool. Listen to what I'm doing with the kick drum. What this is doing to the sound is applying a sort of funny slant control. In some ways, this is an even better slant control than tone slant, which I coded more recently, but only in some ways. Like I'll demonstrate right now. We turn this on and immediately you're getting a cut to the extreme highs. But then as we exaggerate it, we find that the lows go up and the highs go down. And the lows will go kind of up. And you can see that the lows go right down when I do this. Now the reason you shouldn't use this for like a mastering style slant control is that I know I got really complicated inside here making it do this stuff, and that's not what you want for like surgical EQ. That's not what you want for working on mixes in a mastering style context. With that, you're much better off using something that's truly transparent, and this is not truly transparent. It's just producing the general response curve that you can easily describe as a tilt. I mean, you look at that, and then you look at what it's like without it, and it's massively a tilt, and it's obviously including this crazy sub boost in here to increase the thunder quotient of it all. In fact, something that I can do while derping around here is throw in one of my audio units. Let's go to, it's always difficult searching through these. There's so many of them. They're all going to end up becoming free VSTs. Now, what I'm thinking of is I'm thinking of the variation on space that I did. And actually, I probably don't need that, because the deal with the variation on space that I did was it applies a nonlinear, that's what it was, nonlinear space. It applies nonlinearities. It can cut off the back end of the reverb, making it nonlinear for like the nonlinear patch in that that hardware reverb, famous one, I forget what it is. Anyways. So this is one of my reverbs. The various settings that it's got. We'll pick something huge, but not too huge. And again, dry and wet. If we can let some dry through. And here's what you do. You apply distance. And then by adding the extreme distance, the reverb becomes much huger. Now, a mile away is kind of a lot to have a reverb. For one, you can barely hear it. Let's cut off the pad. Two miles away is kind of much. So let's assume that our hall here, and again, this is what we got. let's assume that our hall is not actually 2 miles deep, but is a more reasonable amount. It's not even 1 mile deep. We're assuming that it's like something smaller than that. Listen to the difference I get from here. And I can include the dry a little bit. It's about 0.4 or so. Good and dark. Now here is our reverb for without distance. Then you put distance on it. Off. Let's cut the gain down a little bit, and we'll go full wet. So this is without distance. And this is what it would be like if the reverb return was really in fact far away. And again, distance works even when set to 0, so you have this as a back and forth. Out, in. And you can sneak it in a little bit like this. And you can combine it with the settings on whatever reverb you're using. Like maybe this is a little over bassy. And we want the highs to chill out a little bit from this. A little brighter than that. And I got it off, and then with this reverb, here, let's turn it on again. Space has this funny thing of if you're dicking around with the sample rate a whole bunch, sometimes it gets overtones in there, so we're going to make those go away. And so we have a sort of deep, chambery, warehousey kind of thing going on. And then when we put distance in, it becomes a lot realer. Out and in. And now we're very far away from the crazy reverb overload that we're doing. I hope you like distance. It is not exactly your, it's not exactly tone slant. It's got a little bit more of it going on than that. And it's a pretty old school plugin. I did it back in 2007 when I was trying all kinds of crazy things. So you're probably not going to find a plugin quite like it. But that said, it serves its own peculiar little purpose, and I hope you like it. I hope people have fun with it and do interesting things with it. This is not one of the plugins that I would say, oh, this is so mastering grade. You should use it in very professional terms. I think you should use this to play with it. And if you're getting fun results out of it, that's all I could ask. Thanks. Talk to you later.